1 year since Ange Postecoglou. This has got to be a wind-up. 1 year since he took over Celtic. How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be looking back at 1 year of Ange Postecoglou in charge of Celtic. I'm going to look at my reaction when he was appointed, and I'm going to get some of your thoughts on the last year as well. Before I get into the actual video though, I want to say a massive thank you to the folks over at the One Football app for sponsoring this video. The One Football app is the one-stop shop for all your football goodness. One of the frustrations I find with being a Celtic fan is the endless scrolling that you have to do on other football apps in order to find the information that you want. On the One Football app, you can select the team that you support. It gives you all the information that you want in one place. You get transfers, results, live scores, and anything else that you want to find out. You can find it in the section of the club that you support. The One Football app is the best football app on the market right now. It's what I use throughout the summer to track transfers and throughout the year as well to track squad updates and live scores as well. So by downloading the One Football app using the link in the description below, not only are you getting a really good free product, you're also supporting the channel as well. So use the link in the description below to download the One Football app now. So what a year it has been. Who would have thought that Celtic would be in the position that they are right now? That is the question that I've asked over the last number of months as we progressed on the channel, as we progressed through the Huddle breakdown with Celtic on top of the league. We were recording the Huddle breakdown for about a year and a half before Celtic had been top of the league. That's how crazy the last couple of years have been at Celtic. And then Ange Postecoglou comes in to the ether of Celtic Football Club. Eddie Howe was supposed to be the Celtic manager for months and months and months and months, and then it just didn't happen. It just fell apart. All of a sudden Celtic were 100 days without a manager in charge. The board was a mess, the structure was a mess. Scott Brown had just left. The biggest players at the club were leaving. Christopher Ajer was linked with a move away. Odsonne Edouard was linked with a move away. And it just looked like an altogether desperate situation. We're at the point where even Gordon Strachan was being linked with the job. Roy Keane was a favourite for the job as well at one point in time. And then came this word 105 days into the management search. Celtic had found their man. Ange Postecoglou, former Australia manager, Yokohama F. Marinos manager, had managed Australia at the World Cup. Not many people knew who he was, especially Mr. Alan Brazil over on TalkSport, but I'll hold my hand up, I didn't really know who he was either. This was my reaction on the channel to the news that Ange Postecoglou, who at this point in time did not hold the correct UEFA license to take the Celtic job or to take over, so we had to wait for that. So that was the position we were in. This was my reaction on the channel. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that up in Donegal I've been sitting watching the J-League for the last 5 years and I know exactly who this guy is. I've read about him, I've watched his games, I've watched interviews with him. He does seem like a very impressive character. That doesn't mean he's getting a free ride. I do think that he's going to be under more pressure than a lot of managers would be at this point in time. But I am going to get behind him, and I do hope that he is a success. There is a video on the Celtic website as well of Ange talking to Celtic TV about the appointment. He does seem like a really nice guy. He seems like he has his thoughts well tuned to what he wants to achieve. He seems grounded. He knows what he wants. He knows what he has to do to get there, and he seems that he's ready to come and work. Can he make the step up to from the J-League, from the Australian League to Celtic and to Glasgow? That is the biggest question of it, really. Can this guy come into the melting pot that is Glasgow, come into Celtic, come into the mess that he has inherited and turn it around? That is the biggest question that any Celtic manager has faced since Martin O'Neill, I would imagine. And Martin O'Neill at that point in time was a very strong character. He was a very strong coach. He was well known at this point. So I think it's a different situation in that point, but I think the job is as big as Martin O'Neill. And Martin O'Neill did it relatively quickly. So there's no reason to say that Ange can't come in and do that. The issue is, does he have the board's backing? Are the board going to give him what he needs? Are the board going to give him the facilities that he needs? Are the board going to give him the players that he needs? The level of football doesn't really
worry me that much. I think that if you're a good enough coach, and listen, he's managed at a World Cup. You don't get to that level. A World Cup is a step beyond club football, regardless of who you're managing, regardless of whether it's Laos or whether it's Australia or whether it's Scotland. If you're managing Australia and you get to a World Cup, and he did qualify for the second World Cup as well, but he stepped away before it happened. If you get to that level, you're good enough to do that, then you're a good coach, regardless of who you are, regardless of who you're managing. So I don't think the coaching level, the level of coaching that he is going to bring to the club is going to be any lower, and it can't be much lower than Neil Lennon's, let's be honest. I don't think it'll be any lower than that. I think it's mentality-wise, can he handle the melting pot that is Glasgow?
So take everything that I actually said there, remove the hair. You know, my hair hasn't improved that much, but it improved a little bit since then. Remove that element to it. And I actually don't think I was that far off. I was actually pleasantly surprised at my reaction to it. Now, I didn't know much about Ange at that point in time. I'd watched the interviews like everyone else. I've read, you know, the threads on Twitter or the articles in The Athletic, things like that. That's what I knew about Ange Postecoglou. Didn't really know what we were getting into, but what a year it has been. And I guess I'll take apart what I've been saying there in the previous video and the video that my reaction. What did I learn from it, and what did I learn from the last year? Well, one of the things that I said there was I don't think the coaching will be that far off or thereabouts, or I don't think it's going to be a weak element. Absolutely, you know, like the coaching element's probably been at the forefront of everything with Ange in terms of improving players like Anthony Ralston, you know, bringing in players to suit a system rather than being ad hoc like Neil Lennon, you know, getting big results but then ultimately coming up short and not really having a cohesive plan or structure. So you're ending up with random players coming into the club, random players coming out of the club, and what you're left with is a mixed bag of things that eventually falls apart in a big mess. That's what happened. Under Ange, you get a different view because you've got a set style of play that you're really in tune with. You are, you know, aggressively loyal to that system, and you're buying players to suit that system and that structure, and that all comes together in one cohesive unit. And the end game was a league title. The end game was all of the players that were brought in as squad players, as rotation players, and as first team players. Every single one of them made an impact on the team and improved the team throughout the season, especially the players that were brought in on deadline day, especially the players that were brought in January. You got an injection of energy, of pace, of strength, of character, all of that brought into the club, and what you ended up with was a league title and a league cup. In terms of the mentality element, that was another thing that I was questioning about Ange Postecoglou. And looking back at it now, it actually seems a little bit laughable that I was questioning whether or not he was mentally ready to step into a position at Celtic. Now, don't get me wrong, the Scottish League and especially Glasgow is a very, very difficult place to come into if you're a Celtic or Rangers manager. Very, very difficult no matter how big a character you are. But Ange Postecoglou's character is never in doubt anymore. Never, ever in doubt anymore. He's one of the most strong-minded, strong-willed, charismatic managers that Celtic have had probably since Martin O'Neill. And he stepped into the role. He's been brave, he's been forthright, and he stuck to his guns in the face of media criticism when things weren't going well, and he was able to, you know, maybe push it back a little bit when things were going well as well. So altogether, strong coach, strong character, strong personality, the three key things that I think every Celtic manager should have. Ange Postecoglou has them in bucket loads. So it's been an amazing year to witness what was happening in Celtic, witness the change, the overhaul, the injection of young, bright, exciting players like Jota and Abada and Hatate and Kyogo especially, Matt O'Reilly coming in. Witnessing that, it was one of the most intense and intensely fun seasons that I've had watching as a football fan and as a Celtic fan. And I think that was reflected in the reaction across the Celtic base. The home support was back in their droves. Everybody was in tune with the team, reconnecting with the team. This season was about reconnecting the fan base to the team, and everything came together, and it was just an absolutely amazing season. So one of the things that I asked on Twitter before I recorded this video was for you to send me a description of the year with one word, only using one word. So here are some of the responses, and then I'll react to them as we go along. Oceanside Fella, exhilarating. Tri-Spire says progress. Kenny, uncompromising. Neil McDonald, implausible. Tim, struth. Mark, champions. Phelim, winning. Celtic by numbers, smart. Tim Poster, look. Seem exciting. And the Lennon click, ripper. So one of the ones that I want to touch on there is from my colleague Alan Morrison, the Celtic by numbers, smart. It was a smart year full of smart decisions and a smart manager making those. Firstly, whether or not Celtic stumbled upon him or whether or not it actually was working in the background, it was a smart decision to appoint Ange Postecoglou to the Celtic job, because it was a manager who was coming in with vast experience at high levels, but was still low enough on everyone else's radar that Celtic were able to appoint him and that they were able to afford him, essentially. Because I think if you got the Ange Postecoglou now that we have, Celtic would probably not be able to afford him, and Celtic would probably not be able to entice him into the role. It was a smart decision in that sense, and then there were smart decisions from Ange from a tactical point of view, in terms of being uncompromising, as one of the tweeters said there, sticking to his guns in the face of adversity, and smart transfers as well, bringing in really, really good players on a low budget. Juranovic, unbelievable. Matt O'Reilly, incredible business there. Giakoumakis, smart move for a player that was probably under the radar and won't be under the radar for much longer. Then you also have the smart business in terms of going into the Japanese market with Ange, Kyogo coming in, Hatate coming in, Maeda coming in. 3 players at Celtic. If you were to buy players from League One or Championship, you're spending triple of what Celtic spent on those 3 players. So you're talking really smart business moves and really smart football moves as well throughout the season. Exciting was another one that was used to describe this year. Exciting doesn't even come close to describing what this season was. From watching players develop like Anthony Ralston, I think it was one of the most exciting years to see what he can actually do when he's properly coached. Callum McGregor stepping into the captaincy role. Matt O'Reilly, I'll mention him multiple times before this video is over. Kyogo, Jota, one of the most exciting players in Scottish football, one of the most exciting players in European football. He's an unbelievable talent, and it will be brilliant to see if he signs for Celtic. So exciting, for me, doesn't even come close. Exhilarating, as was described, is probably closer to that. One last one that I want to touch on was from Tim Poster, and he said, look. Now, you can't put the league title down to luck, because Celtic weren't lucky in the league. They were the best team throughout the year, and they won the league title. Did they get luck along the way? Yes, they did. But if you listen to Huddle Breakdown throughout the season, if you listen to the description of positive variance as Juco James and Al Morrison bang on about every week, you make your own luck in life. You make your own luck in football, and by doing the right things multiple times throughout the season, you will eventually, quote unquote, get lucky. Things will start to turn on your behalf. If you look at Celtic last year, or a couple of years ago under Neil Lennon versus last year, Celtic got a lot of bad luck, you could say, against teams under Neil Lennon, and they got a lot of good luck, you could say, under Ange Postecoglou. Now, why was that? Well, Celtic were creating a lot more, playing on the front foot a lot more, playing a lot smarter than before, and by doing so, you're shortening the gap between positive variance and negative variance. When you talk about football, when you talk about the way things work, if you shoot more, if you take better shots, if you get better chances, the chances are you're probably going to get the odd deflection here or there. You're probably going to nick a goal here or there. You're probably going to get Giakoumakis to get a toe on the ball. You're probably going to score last minute goals if you're creating better chances. Celtic, under Neil Lennon, were not creating better chances. They were shooting on sight. They were shooting outside the box. And what does that do? It opens up the gap for the opposition to get a lucky goal and Celtic not to win the game, to draw the game rather than winning the game. That's the difference between good luck and bad luck. You create your luck on the football pitch. Yes, it is still luck, but it's not dumb luck. You create it yourself. So that's what I think Tim Poster is saying, although if he's saying the Celtic were just lucky this year, couldn't disagree more. So that was the last year under Ange Postecoglou at Celtic. What did you think of the last year? If you were to describe it in one word, do it in the description. So that was the last year under Ange Postecoglou at Celtic. What did you make of the last year? Let me know in one word or more in the comments below, and like the video as well so more people can see them. And please do, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, help it grow before the next season. There will be more consistent videos throughout the season, but as you can tell, I'm not in my usual studio at the minute. I'm in a villa in Spain, and hopefully in the next couple of months I'll be back with bigger and better videos. Until then, we'll chat to you later.